are we living in a simulation? Seemingly an absurd question to ordinary people, or even, until you start to think about it.
Well, for my first speaking video, I was looking for a more scenic place to do it, but it's rainy, it's windy, it's gray, there's like sirens going off, it's like Silent Hill out there, so the car it is for now. I just had a few quick thoughts. This idea that I hear touted by the likes of Scott Adams, the simulated universe theory, this idea that we're living in some kind of computer simulation, designed presumably by some other conscious entities, that we're living in some kind of holographic projection, and or some kind of virtual world, basically. So I think these ideas aren't true, and they're philosophically dangerous, but I do think we're living in a fake world. And I think that's why these ideas are catching fire so much. I hear this touted by some really, really smart people. Again, Scott Adams, you know, great guy. He emailed 12-year-old me. He used to include his email address on his comic strip, Dilbert. This was like, you know, that was when email was that new, that he could do that. And he emailed me back as a kid who was just, I was making my own comic strips. I was an artist and I was obsessed with his comic, and I still am. So he's a good guy, he's a smart man, but he's just so wrong about this. And people are just so wrong. And they're sure about it now. They're really sure that we live in a computer simulation. They love the idea. I think it has something to do with video game culture that this is catching on. But I also think that we understand we live in a fake world. Our society is fake. Everything's fake. You know, the mainstream is fake. Music is fake. What happened to rock music? And then I hear people, oh, music is doing better than ever. So again, that's fake. Our currency is somewhat fake. It's being propped up artificially. You know, when you turn on the news, no matter what outlet you're looking at, generally it's not journalism. It's corporate propaganda, or it's government propaganda, or some kind of mixture of the two. So it's literally anti-news. It's keeping the news from you, right? And just like music is supposed to make you think and supposed to make you creative, it actually stops you from being creative. It's about conformity. It's about shame. And we'll go on about all the fake things in our world. But let me get to this idea. And again, I want to hear your thoughts and comments about this because I'm really interested. I think I'm onto something here. We have to be careful that our philosophy isn't fake. And something like we live in a simulated universe, you'll notice has no other explanations with it. And so what is a good explanation? Well, David Deutsch, who's a quantum physicist over at Oxford, The Fabric of Reality, I mean, it's just mind-blowing book, so check that one out. But he talks about what is a good explanation. And a good explanation is generally something that can't be changed. It's very specific.
There's one thing you have to care about, and that implies testability, the scientific method, the Enlightenment, and everything. And here's the crucial thing. There is such a thing as a defect in a story. I don't just mean a logical defect, I mean a bad explanation. What does that mean? Well, an explanation is an assertion about what's there, unseen, that accounts for what's seen. Easy variability is the sign of a bad explanation, because without a functional reason to prefer one of countless variants, advocating one of them in preference to the others is irrational. So, for the essence of what makes the difference to enable progress, seek good explanations, the ones that can't be easily varied while still explaining the phenomena.
So something like we live in a simulated universe, you know, any variation on that is possible. You know, I think, again, we have video games that are becoming more and more, wow, I can kind of relax when I'm doing these videos. This is tough. I have a newfound respect for anybody out there doing these kind of videos. This is nuts. We see these games that are more and more immersive. The graphics are more and more impressive. There's a little bit of the Moore's Law thing going on, a little bit of the singularity, Kurzweil's singularity, and these ideas that it's going to increase so rapidly and that we're already seeing it increase so exponentially. So the assumption there is that we're going to soon arrive at these matrix-like immersive realities that people are going to live in. the idea is that there will be civilizations out there that have already done that, and the odds are that we're already in somebody else's simulations. As Jaron Lanier says,
let's suppose it's possible to build a virtual world that's so robust that somebody could plausibly limit it and not realize. Okay. Now, if it's possible, perhaps we'll do it. But we're in this big universe. Even if humanity doesn't do it, somewhere in the billions and billions of stars, some civilization will do it. And if they can do it once, they'll do it twice. Because once you can do a technological trick, you can replicate it. So eventually, if it's possible at all, there ought to be tons of virtual worlds. But there's only one base reality that all these virtual worlds in.
Right.
So if you suddenly find yourself born into some reality, the chances are it's a virtual reality because there's more of them. Okay, that's the argument. Now, the counter-argument is interesting. In order to make virtual worlds good enough to be like the one we're in, where we can perform fancy physics experiments, you'd need a quantum computer. Because the many worlds interpretation has become so much popular with the advent of interest in quantum computing, now there are all these other ideas about multiple worlds. There's Max Tegmark's ideas, and there's Lee Smolin's ideas, and there's this idea of a landscape of string theory, cosmos. There's all of these different ideas. Now, if all of these allow for an infinity of different worlds that exist in parallel, if you like, all of a sudden, I mean, if you have an infinity of worlds, you can't have more than infinity, so you can no longer have more virtual worlds than worlds.
Right.
So in order to make quantum computers in the first place, you've probably convinced yourself that there are an infinity of real worlds. So all of a sudden, your chances of being in a virtual world have gone way, way down.
Yeah.
let me just provide a counterexample. What if we lived in an emergent universe? So we know, for example, that biology on Earth was an emergent phenomenon. People tried to explain this incredible, complex, the biology around us, all these amazing life forms. For thousands of years, people had wrong explanations about how it got here. We were completely wrong about these ideas. We thought, well, certainly somebody must have engineered it. Certainly there's something going on. There's a purpose here. There's a plan. And none of those things are true. We found out that biological evolution, this kind of blind watchmaker idea, that nature chooses the things that can propagate themselves successfully are what exist. What a simple, elegant explanation, that the things that are here are the things that manage to stay here. It's very simple and incredible. And when we take that seriously, it seems too amazing to be true, right? But then when you look at it, wow, it's really true. The coincidences add up. So at this point, you could fill a library full of the evidence for biological evolution. And then people say, oh, but we must have been planted here by extraterrestrials. This is one of those explanations, again, a bad explanation, that, it must have been extraterrestrials, like, seeded us kind of here on Earth and stuff like that. Again, so I want to say those ideas and the simulated universe ideas I find fascinating, profound, important, interesting, great to talk about. I'm a huge nerd. And by the way, the simulated universe idea goes back really far. This isn't like a brand new idea, but it is catching fire. So software to me seems elegant. If you play a video game, you're going down the corridor, shooting your bad guys, and you clip outside of a wall, you're not going to see every blade of grass in that video game universe designed and programmed and responding to the wind outside because they didn't need to program that. You're never going to see it. You're only going to see what you need to see for that program to work. The way software is designed, and especially simulations, is that it's all about limiting the outside physics and creating an illusion. So again, we do live in an illusory society and an illusory world, and I think that's why these ideas are catching on. But when I look at this universe, I mean, it's so big. Forget mind-blowing. I don't even have words to describe how big this universe is. I mean, it's just incredible. Recently, there was a meteorite that came flying through our solar system at ridiculous speeds, this fast. This is how fast it was. And it's called like Papa Umau Mau or something. No, what did they name it? I don't remember. It wasn't Papa Umau. It was something like that. But they tried to find which star system it came from. You know, which galaxy or which solar system rather, not galaxy, solar system. The candidates are like hundreds of light years away. So going light speed after 1 year, that distance, okay, 100 of those, like that's close. That's our next door neighbor. By the way, most stars that you see at night are other galaxies, right? We're talking millions of light years away. The entire universe we know at this point is at least 44 billion light years across and expanding. And again, it's 14 billion years old, we know, roughly, from the Big Bang. It seems to me that that's like the worst software program ever designed. And what, are we part of this program? I think that's implicit in Scott Adams' explanation, that we're somehow like part of this project for some reason.
Usually what people mean is something a bit more, I could say almost sinister, that there's like this other entity that's looking in on us somehow, that there's some player involved in our lives on a different footing than we have.
Maybe the Douglas Adams idea, you know, that the what was it called? Deep thought, right? Was that the idea of the name of the computer, where the answer for the life, the universe, and everything was 42, but then they had to ask it, well, what was the question? They got the answer. And so Earth turned out to be the computer that was computing that answer or whatever. So again, I love these ideas, don't get me wrong. But I think in a fake world, that's why these ideas are catching on, and people know, they have the sense that things are wrong and aren't real in our society.
Wake up. Shake yourself from your media-induced, authoritarian fortified comas. Bankers and our financial institutions pervert justice while they control the issuance and value of our currency. The government plunders our wealth. The military-industrial complex ruins our national reputation. Our multi-year K-12 indoctrination program keeps us obedient to psychopathic authorities. Law enforcement agents fine and cage us for the possession of cancer-healing plant matter. Psychopathic politicians enslave us with an ocean of laws. The medical community and pharmaceutical companies
on
are
the country.
killing us.
But there's a kind of cancer going all around the planet now, and it's got nothing to do with concern for what's legal, moral, or ethical. It's got more to do with homage and subservience and idolatry to fiat money. There's widespread criminal network around the world. You know, the Shah of Iran spoke about it. Kennedy, the President of the United States, spoke about it. Everyone has spoken about it. And they micromanage and they ensure that there's a lot of corruption going on, whether it's insurance jobs in our face, like Silverstein on 9/11, who just insured, he got his $5 billion, just insured it just before it was all knocked down, or Obamacare was just a gift to all the insurance companies.
Of course, so anyone's a terrorist basically in the end, who has any opinion that's outside the norm. And then, hate speech. Let's have hate speech. No, you can't have hate speech. Oh yeah, what about fake news? Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I'm glad you thought of that. Fake news. I like the sound of that. Yeah, we'll have fake news. Yeah, and of course, fake news means basically, from their point of view, any information that's challenging the official narrative. And so it's gone on step by step by step, the totalitarian tiptoe, as I call it. And now we're seeing it get to extreme levels.
So I think in a fake, plastic, sterile world, we need to make sure that our philosophy is real. That's all. See you later. Hey guys, I'm gonna try to do more speaking videos, teaching videos, and posting music. I've been working on an album for like 2 months. It's called Ye Old Machine Piano. But if you don't have Time Is Real, which I put out last year, please check it out. The production, get the actual version from the store. The quality is like so much better. You're gonna hear things that you don't hear on the YouTube version. So thanks a lot, guys. Please do subscribe, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Really want to start hitting back from the artist's perspective. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll talk to you soon.
and that entity would have created this universe.
Well, maybe not. Maybe they just won it in a contest or something.